From mining camp bakeries to the modern metropolis continental cuisine, historians Robert and KRISTEN AUTOBEE stroll through their new book, Lost Restaurants of Denver, one bite at a time. Since 1859, Denver's dining scene has ranged from fine French dining to the native Rocky Mountain foods, unlike any other. We're thrilled to have Robert and KRISTEN AUTOBEE here to share their new book. Congratulations, both of you.
Thank you.
So why did you decide to write a book about restaurants, Robert?
Well, we had this crazy idea that we would do a book about hamburgers in Denver, which is a limited topic. It could be like a 5-page paper. So the publisher said, why not just look at all the old restaurants throughout Denver's history, the people that ran them, the different types of food. So that's where we took off with that.
Very cool. How did you choose the restaurants?
Well, that's a good question.
We asked a lot of people a leading question. We said, what if you could go back in time and you have to stay in Denver, but you can eat at any restaurant you want to, where would you go and what would you eat? And from that, we gathered a lot of wonderful memories of wonderful restaurants and kind of took it from there.
How far back in history does the book go?
To the Gold Rush.
To the Gold Rush, really?
Yeah. There was a pair of French brothers, the Charpiots, who did the first major restaurant of the Delmonicos of the West. And oysters were brought out to Denver, and fine French wines had the best seller between St. Louis and the Pacific Coast. Then things kind of took off from there.
What was it like researching for this book?
Easy. It was a lot of fun. This is perhaps the funnest project we've ever been involved in. Both History Colorado and Denver Public Library have a wonderful menu collection, so anybody's welcome to go to either repository and look at all these old Denver menus. We spoke to a lot of folks who were in the restaurant business, managers, owners, waiters, just a real variety of people.
Speaking of old Denver menus, you're holding one, aren't you, KRISTEN?
One, yes.
What is that from?
This is from the Out of Bounds restaurant.
In Aurora.
In Aurora.
In Aurora.
And this is circa 1972.
That
the
is
actual menus
really
on the backside.
And I'm sure the people watching home would like to hear how much prime rib cost in 1972.
How much?
Well, let's find out. It would be
gosh,
$2.40.
Wow!
Yes.
And today you're looking at like
Well, there's not a lot of restaurants that have prime rib on their menu, so yeah, there's a big difference between now and then.
And this cup right here, coffee mug, Rocky Built. This Rocky Built was known for what?
They were Denver's version of the White Castles. If you've come from elsewhere in the United States, you'll know what White Castle hamburgers are. But the Rocky Built was our own deal. A little square greasy hamburger with some onions on a tiny bun with a special sauce somewhat similar to Thousand Island dressing. And there are a few places still in town that are keeping the flame alive for Rocky Built. So our friend Nick Andrelucas out in Lakewood at Nick's Cafe, he makes a version of the Rocky Built. So
wow, we'll have to try that. Any famous dishes that Denver are known for?
Well, there's a Denver omelet, but you don't see that a lot on Denver menus. So,
really?
So there's some things, if you've been in Denver, if you're from here, there's a cannoli up in North Denver. There's a number of Italian-American restaurants that took a piece of pizza dough, a sausage, a little bit of green pepper, and some cheese, baked it. You'll still find the cannoli on a lot of menus and places.
You guys are making my stomach grumble. That sounds good. What about chefs?
We had several famous chefs starting really in the 19th century. The first named chef we found in the 1860s. And now whether his cooking was any good, that we can't tell you.
Nobody's going to tell you. Yeah,
but Chef Jimmy Schmidt was here for some years in the 80s.
And Pierre Wolf is still around, and he was a legend in this city for many years. So
now your book, KRISTEN, does it also include recipes that we can try for ourselves?
We do. We have several really good recipes. Anyone who wants to start cooking their way through the book should start with the Mija pie from Bowers, and people might remember how wonderful Bowers pastries were. The Mija pie is really a chocolate pudding pie that's has kind of a toffee and nut
ooh, yummy! That sounds
topping.
delicious.
It's really good, and it's all you'll need to eat. You don't need any other.
Done.
That's
Breakfast,
the meal.
lunch, and dinner.
That's the meal.
Was there any restaurant or particular food that stood out in your mind?
For me, it was the oysters.
Yeah.
The oysters are the first thing on the menu.
Were you an oyster fan before?
No, I'm not. I don't like oysters.
Stand them, so.
Yeah, but I think just finding them on the menu here, and as we went through archives, we found that even Uncle Dick Wooten imported oysters in 1858, 1859.
Wow.
And those oysters came across the Santa Fe Trail. They came up through Taos. So St. Louis through Trinidad.
Hopefully they
up
kept
to
him
Taos.
cold and good for a while. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you,
What
Denise.
an interesting book. You can sample the hearty helpings of restaurants from Denver's past. Many are gone, but guess what? There are still many historical eateries around. Just check out Lost Restaurants of Denver online at historypress.net. That's historypress.net. The books are also available at many Colorado booksellers.